Hey friends, welcome back. For those who are new here, I'm Patrina with Homegrown Florida. I've been growing a lot of our own fruits and vegetables for the last 10 years. And I've been sick for about 2 going on 3 weeks now, and my tomato plants are ridiculously tall. I should not have let them grow this long. Letting them get too big is just one of the many mistakes that you can make when transplanting your tomato plants. Today, I'm gonna share with you 3 of the worst ones that you can make so that you can avoid that. And while we do that, I'm gonna try to get these planted while I still feel good and while the weather is nice. Hopefully no rain today. So one of the common mistakes that people will make when starting or transplanting tomato plants is not hardening them off. And I think a lot of people, especially down here in the South, think about hardening off a little bit differently than our friends up in the North. So hardening off really just means getting these plants ready for their new environment. So up in the North, that usually means that you have to get them prepared to handle cold weather. And for us here in the South, where I don't get really cold weather and I don't have to worry about that, it's getting them used to the hot weather. I'm actually a little jealous right now. I'm seeing all the social media posts from people where they're like getting out their jeans and their long sleeve sweaters and the pumpkin patches and all the beautiful things that come with fall. Yeah. It's still like 90 degrees here. It's blazing hot. And these guys have been living inside in my hydroponic system, so they are not used to 2 things. They're not used, well, 3 things actually. They're not used to the sun intensity that we have going on. They are not used to the heat that we have going on, and they are not used to growing in soil, right? They're hydroponics, so they are used to growing in water. And so these guys have to be slowly hardened off to where they can get adjusted to their new world, which is hot and dry and rainy. Dry and rainy, can that be possible? Yeah, in Florida it can. So over the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, these guys have been hardening off. Look at that root structure. Oh, I love these trays. They work so well. I don't think they would have lasted this long with any other trays, honestly. Like, I'm so glad I moved and got those Epic gardening trays, because I really don't think that they would have made it, and then I wouldn't have been able to start them over. So, hey, Epic Gardening, thank you so much. If you're interested in the trays, I'll put a link down in the description for you. So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I started hardening them off. The first thing I did was I got them used to being outside of the hydroponic system, and basically that entailed putting them in the shade in my patio where they had no sun, no direct sun, and a crap ton of water. I mean, like, I watered the soil so moist that it's dripping, sopping wet. And then I left water in the bottom of the tray. It's too much water for most plants, but if you're going from a hydroponic system to, you know, getting them used to growing in the ground, you kind of have to start them out super wet. The next thing I did was I had to get them used to our sun. So I started slowly introducing them to the outside sun. Like I said, when they first went out here, they were in complete shade. And then so I moved them to a different spot in my yard where they only got morning sun. And then after that, I moved them to a spot where they got, you know, morning and a little bit of afternoon sun, until finally I had them basically sitting in this bed, which is where I was going to plant them, for several weeks. So that way they could get used to this exact spot. That's all types of hardening off. Now, if you were getting them ready for winter, like if you're getting ready for cold, say you're up in one of those northern states, you're gonna put them out in the hottest part of the day instead of the coldest part, which would be at night. And then you're going to do that for a couple hours and then bring them back in, and then take them out for a couple extra hours and then bring them back in. It's kind of a long process, but honestly, they get adjusted pretty quick. I'd say within about 4 to 5 days, you'll probably have them in their full environment with no issues. The last way that you can harden things off, and I really strongly encourage this for people in the South, is don't transplant in the middle of the day or the morning. Transplant at night. Now, I'm not even taking my own advice right here, but it is supposed to get nice and rainy here in a minute. And so I feel like if I get these in, even when it's a little bit sunny, the rain's gonna come and it's gonna create a nice shaded spot for these guys. And then they'll have all afternoon and all night and everything to get adjusted to this spot right here and the sun before they have to deal with it the next day. So if you need to transplant on a non-shady day, like a really sunny day, make sure to do it in the evening. That's going to give them 12 hours to get used to their new spot before the full intensity of the sun comes back. If you're new to gardening in Florida and maybe you haven't grown tomatoes, or you've been gardening and maybe haven't had the best luck with it here in Florida, make sure to pick up my book, Homegrown Florida Gardening Guide. It has 30 chapters, 30 different vegetables to explain exactly how to grow them here in Florida. My favorite varieties, how much to grow for a year's supply of food, pest management, disease management, how to harvest it, everything you ever wanted to know. You can get this at my website at homegrownfloridagarden.com. So the next mistake you could be making is all about how you're feeding your plants. So this right here is a cover crop of sun hemp. It is one way of feeding my tomato plants. It is a cover crop that gives a significant amount of nitrogen, which tomatoes do like nitrogen, but not like a significant amount. So I am gonna have to add a little bit of phosphorus and potassium to this bed to give it like all of the nutrients that it needs. But the first thing I gotta do is get this cut down. If you're not into cover cropping or amending and all those things, probably the easiest way to feed your tomato plants is to use a fertilizer. And you can use organic, you can use synthetic, you can use whatever you like. It's your garden, right? I'm gonna be honest, I think the synthetic fertilizers work quicker, better, but I also noticed that they don't really do much for the health of the soil. And so I tend to end up with plants, or when I used to use it, I haven't used it in a while, or very limited. I find that the plants are not as healthy because the soil is not as healthy, because that fertilizer doesn't actually feed the soil, it just feeds the plants. And healthy soils actually give the plants the ability to fight off disease, to fight off pests, those kinds of things. So I use organic fertilizers. The one I like for tomatoes is Espama's Tomato Tone, but Dr. Earth has a really good one, and Down to Earth has another really good one for tomatoes. And usually I just put the fertilizer down into the planting hole at the time that I plant it. About 1/4 of a cup is really where it's at. And then I don't have to fertilize it again for probably, I don't know, the first tomatoes start to ripen, and then I might put down a second round of fertilizer. If it's close to like my first frost date, I probably won't. Why waste the fertilizer? It's not gonna work very well. It needs time to break down, so this fertilizer right here is probably gonna take like at least 2 to 3 weeks to break down. That's fine. This tomato has everything it needs right now. It's looking nice and green. I've been using a liquid fertilizer on it when it was a baby as a seedling. The one I like to use there is Alaska's fish fertilizer, or there's also Neptune's Harvest fish fertilizer, and they have a tomato and veg that I think is pretty good. Other ways that you can feed tomato plants is going to be like compost, amendments like worm castings, or bone meal, blood meal, kelp meal. All of those are great ways to feed your plants, and you can actually mix all those up, put that down into the planting hole, and then you can skip the fertilizer if you're not into fertilizers. But compost, by far, best thing that you can ever add to any of your beds that will feed the soil, feed the plants, feed everything, right? And I do put compost down. I generally don't do it on beds where I had a cover crop because I feel like the cover crop is the compost. It's gonna break down, feed the plants and everything. But for all the other beds where I don't grow cover crop, I do put down a 1 to 2 inch layer of compost in it. The next thing you need to be doing is getting the seedlings very, very wet. Almost to the point that what people tell you shouldn't do, that's what you should do. So I got this little guy right here. He's called a Tiny Tim. He is a super micro dwarf, I think he's micro. Anyway, he's super tiny, and so I'm gonna put him in my Greenstalk. My Greenstalk soil stays pretty moist. I do a pretty decent job of keeping it wet through the bottom. Like, I don't really allow it to get dry at all. So I don't really worry about this too much. But if you're putting it into a dry bed, if you dig down in there and you stick your fingers in it and they don't come up feeling like dirty and stuff, like it doesn't stick to you, it's not moist enough. So you could do a few different things. You can take this whole seedling and dip the whole thing in a bucket of water and let it sit there for about 10 to 30 seconds. Let it really soak in. It's gonna be like dripping wet. That is perfect. And then when you put the little guy in there, you can water the planting hole as well, which is what I'm gonna do here. Even though this is pretty moist, you know, just in case. It's almost like you can't overwater them those first few days, especially in a hot climate. So I'll water the planting hole. Then if I'm in a bed like you saw with the other ones, I will put the soil back over it, put the mulch back on it, and then water it again. And I will water it every day for the next 3 or 4 days, just to make sure that it gets, you know, gets a good foothold. In a hot climate, you can't water too much, especially those first few days. Get them in there, get them watered, and then about, 4 or 5 days later, start reducing it down. Skip a day. Do every other day of watering, and then keep skipping a day until you're down to your regular watering, which for me during the summer is 2 times a week. In the winter, it's 1 time a week. But right now, these guys, it's still really hot. It's probably going to be like this hot for another month or 2. So these guys, they're going to have to get watered twice a week. Oop, I broke a branch. I usually clip off the bottom branches as well. I haven't been doing that because it's really hot and I'm just trying to get away with what I have to do today, which is just get them in the ground. And then I'll go back and I'm going to clip off the bottom leaves. I'm going to put their trellising systems around them because none of them put trellises on them right now. A lot of them are dwarf determinants, so they really only need like a tomato cage or just like a really flimsy cage. So that's probably what I'm gonna do. And then in probably about 2 more months, we're gonna have tomatoes to eat. If you're excited for tomato season, make sure to head down to the comments and give me your absolute favorite tomato variety to grow. I have been keeping a list, and every season I pick tomatoes off you guys' list and I grow them here in the Homegrown Florida Garden. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I still have quite a few to put in the ground, but I'm hot and I'm gonna take breaks because that is important. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. Happy gardening.